Hello my viewers and welcome back to my channel. Before we get started, please subscribe, like and share your contributions in the comment section down below. It's always a pleasure to interact with you all. So today we take it back to something we had already talked about some time back, but I'm sharing it with you guys again because it's like Asians are still blaming black people for affirmative action when palm color people are the ones who benefit from it the most. Now, in discussions surrounding affirmative action, this complex interplay of perspectives emerges with some Asians expressing frustration and attributing challenges to black individuals. However, a closer examination reveals that affirmative action predominantly benefits palm color individuals. Now, this dynamic reflects the need for nuanced conversations about racial disparities and the role of policies in addressing them. So join me as we look into the complexities of affirmative action, seeking a deeper understanding of its impact on various communities. Check out these videos. I will be right back, and when I do, we talk more about this.
Just customer service, at times you can't. Here's what's upsetting to me, Heather, is if I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder, is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action? It almost creates thought patterns that are not necessarily wholesome. It creates resentment, doesn't it, Heather? This is not a way to design society.
Does anybody else find it so rich with Charlie Kirk here, sitting here talking about a black woman benefiting from affirmative action? Is a thought running through his mind when he's on customer service, sitting next to a woman. Does anybody find that rich except me? Why can't these bigots just come out and say this? Because obviously intelligence is not their strong suit. You're literally sitting there talking to a woman about black women benefiting most from affirmative action, when it is women literally who benefit the most from affirmative action. This is not even an extensive Google search to find out that although people associate affirmative action with the efforts to end discrimination for people of color, scholars say the greatest beneficiaries of affirmative action policies are women, from college campuses to the American workplace. Women today are more educated and make up a larger slice of the workforce as a result of decades of affirmative action policies, scholars say. Women have also made inroads into corporate leadership that people of color and women of color have not. And allow me to say this going forward, because I'm always asking you all to pick a struggle. The issue is you all cannot pick a struggle. From now on, when you introduce yourselves, I want you to say, I'm a racist, and because of my inbred genetic makeup, I am also incapable of research. Therefore, I am intentionally sick.
So we all remember the overturning of affirmative action because some very misinformed people thought black students were taking away opportunities from well-deserving students, even though women benefited most from affirmative action. And everyone was like, but what about legacy admissions? You know, the basically free ride for children of rich homes. Well, since the ruling on affirmative action, the Education Department has made many recommendations to put an end to legacy admissions. So now we have to call Congress. We have to urge Congress to make sure that this actually does happen. We have a voice. We have to use it. So now go and annoy the hell out of Congress. Call them and email them today.
Rich parents hate affirmative action because they don't want their kids having to compete with the poors. One time I was tutoring a kid in someone's mansion and there was a conversation being had at the door. My client and other neighborhood moms were gossiping about how hard it was to get into the college that I went to. One of the moms was talking about how her husband knew the dean of admissions and even that wasn't enough to get her kid into the college. They were planning to make a generous donation to the school and even that wouldn't guarantee a seat for their child. So after all that, she then goes, affirmative action really made it so hard for all our kids. They're already doing the most work at the most competitive high school. It's not fair that they have to compete with those affirmative action kids. Affirmative action was just taken down by Edward Blum and Asian students who claimed that they had been discriminated against because of affirmative action. Edward Blum is a man who looks like Ichabod Crane. Do you think he gives about Asian students trying to get in Harvard? No, his previous clients were all middle-class girls who couldn't get into their universities of choice. The college I went to, I got in by applying to FAFSA and studying for my AP classes on my own. There are a lot of rich kids that can't say the same. They wouldn't have gotten into their top colleges without their team of tutors, SAT prep, and private college counselors. Higher education is not as meritocratic as we'd like to believe, and it's not because of affirmative action.
Women have benefited the most from affirmative action is pretty easy to look up, and since this question is coming from a nameless, faceless profile, I'm not sure that it's being asked in good faith. If it's being asked in good faith, I'm about to give the answer. If it's being asked in bad faith, maybe in the future ask yourself whether I'm really the person that you want answering this kind of question. So affirmative action was originally meant to address racial disparities only. It did not include gender. But in the late 1960s, the government correctly recognized that women had faced a great deal of disparity and obstacles and should be included in affirmative action. So keeping in mind that the only demographic that was not previously included in affirmative action that became included with that change is women. And affirmative action was so effective for women that by 1980, women were no longer underrepresented in higher education. And by 1995, there were 6 million women, the vast majority of who held jobs that they would not have held were it not for affirmative action. And this is all great. These are wonderful outcomes, and it shows how affirmative action should work for its intended beneficiaries. However, Black students are still underrepresented in higher education, and Black men and women are still underrepresented in the workforce. And although there is still a gender pay gap, women's average weekly earnings is more than that of Black men or Black women, and continue to benefit from affirmative action, particularly in the federal job sector. However, despite the fact that women have been the greatest beneficiaries of affirmative action, 70% of them oppose affirmative action. So there also goes the idea that women do not vote against their interests.
Now, in the realm of affirmative action, it's crucial to recognize that its primary beneficiaries are often palm color individuals. The policy designed to redress historical and systemic inequalities aims to level the playing field for marginalized groups. However, some Asians argue that they face disadvantages due to affirmative action, attributing their challenges to Black individuals benefiting from these measures. Now, it's important to note that affirmative action encompasses a spectrum of considerations, not solely focused on race. Factors such as socioeconomic background and educational opportunities are also taken into account. Critics argue that affirmative action perpetuates stereotypes and unfairly penalizes certain racial groups, including Asians. However, statistics reveal that palm color individuals are statistically the primary recipients of the advantages afforded by these policies. Now, as we navigate this complex landscape, it becomes evident that blaming one racial group for the consequences of affirmative action oversimplifies the issue. Instead, a comprehensive examination must consider the broader implications, acknowledging historical injustices and the ongoing struggle for equal opportunities. So to gain a comprehensive understanding of affirmative action, it's crucial to recognize its origins and intentions. Affirmative action emerged in the United States in the 1960s as a response to systemic discrimination, particularly against African Americans. Now, the aim was to promote equal opportunities in education and employment, addressing historical inequalities. As the policy evolved, concerns surfaced regarding its unintended consequences. So some argue that it has led to a form of model minority stereotype where Asians are perceived as high achieving and thus excluded from affirmative action benefits. However, this oversimplification ignores the diversity within the Asian community, including varying socioeconomic backgrounds and educational opportunities. Moreover, affirmative action does not operate as a zero-sum game. While some individuals may perceive it as disadvantaging certain groups, its fundamental purpose is to rectify historical injustices and foster a more inclusive society. Now, the perception that affirmative action primarily benefits Black people, held by some Asians, might stem from a combination of factors. One key factor is the focus on race in discussions surrounding affirmative action, often centering on historical injustices faced by the Black community. This emphasis can create the perception that the policy is primarily designed to address issues specific to Black individuals, according to this person. Misunderstandings or oversimplifications of affirmative action can also contribute to these beliefs. Some Asians may not be fully aware of the policy's broader goals, which include addressing systemic discrimination against various marginalized groups. Now, the complex interplay of race, socioeconomic status, and educational opportunities involved in affirmative action can lead to misconceptions about its impact on different communities. It's essential to recognize that the perception of affirmative action's impact on different racial groups is not uniform within the Asian community. Views on the policy can vary widely, reflecting diverse experiences, perspectives, and socioeconomic backgrounds among Asians. Now, some Asians may feel that affirmative action places undue burdens on their community, particularly in high competitive educational settings. They might perceive it as a contributing factor to challenges in college admissions or job opportunities. Now, this perception could be influenced by the model minority stereotype, which characterizes Asians as uniformly high achieving and potentially excludes them from affirmative action considerations. However, it's crucial to emphasize that affirmative action is a complex and multifaceted policy aimed at addressing systemic inequalities. It takes into account various factors beyond race, such as socioeconomic status and educational opportunities. Engaging in informed conversations and considering the diverse experiences within the Asian community can contribute to a more comprehensive understanding of the nuances surrounding affirmative action and its implications. Black people tried to tell them, but they didn't believe them, and here we are. Now, palm color women are often cited as one of the major beneficiaries of affirmative action policies. Affirmative action aims to address historical and systemic inequalities, and as such, it includes gender as one of the factors for consideration. Palm color women, being both women and part of the palm color demographic, can potentially benefit from affirmative action measures. Now, in the context of education and employment, affirmative action has contributed to increase opportunities for palm color women by addressing gender-based discrimination. For example, in college admissions or hiring processes, policies may seek to ensure greater representation and equal opportunities for women, including those who are palm color. Now, it's important to note that palm color women can benefit from affirmative action. The policy is designed to address a range of systemic inequalities faced by various marginalized groups. Affirmative action considers factors like race, ethnicity, and socio-economic background to create a more inclusive and equitable society. But the impact and benefits of affirmative action extend beyond any single demographic group. Affirmative action has historically been implemented to address underrepresentation and systemic discrimination, aiming to level the playing field for marginalized groups in both education and employment. While palm color women benefit from affirmative action, it's crucial to understand that the policy is not solely directed towards them. The primary focus of affirmative action is to rectify historical injustices faced by racial and ethnic minorities, particularly African Americans, Hispanics, Native Americans, and other underrepresented groups. The inclusion of gender as a factor extends benefits to women across racial and ethnic backgrounds, including the palm color women. The intention was to promote diversity and equal opportunities for individuals facing systemic barriers. In practice, the impact of affirmative action can vary across different contexts and regions. It remains a subject of debate, with ongoing discussions about its effectiveness, fairness, and potential unintended consequences. Recognizing the diverse experiences and perspectives within various demographic groups contributes to a more nuanced understanding of the complexities surrounding affirmative action. We have come to the end of the video. What do you have to say? Share your comments in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.